Hi kiddos, welcome back to Math for Today. You have two games. The first one is about clocks and you can play that by yourself. The second one is shapes and numbers, and that one you should play with a family member. That could be brother, sister, mom, dad, or maybe a friend if mom or dad is willing to let you do FaceTime or Skype or something on the phone with one of your friends. So we will go ahead and start with our first one, which is about clocks. I have my handy dandy clock here to remind us. Everyone should remember that this time is 2 o'clock. So when that minute hand is straight up, it's what we call the top of the hour. 0 minutes have passed. It is 2 o'clock. And then when that minute hand moves halfway, and now the hour hand is half past 2. Half past 2 is also called 2:30. 30 minutes have passed. So this is 2:30. And then first graders, we started working on quarter hours. So this is just past the 2, pointing at the 3 with the minute hand, and that is 2:15 because 15 minutes have passed. And then if we follow it around another 30 minutes, this would be almost to the 3, but it is 2:45. All right, so for this game, there are 3 options. You have the top option, which everyone should be able to do. So this one has just times to the hour. All of the minute hands are pointing straight up. Kinders should definitely be able to do this. This one is kind of in between. A lot of the kinders should be able to do this. It's just time to the hour and the half hour. Some firsties might want to go back to this, but I strongly encourage all first graders to go on to the 3rd page, which has not only hour and half hour, but also the quarter hours on there. So for this game, I'm going to do the firstie version. You will need a dice, a pencil, crayons, markers, something to color with. So what you're going to do is roll, and I got a 2 first. So I'm going to take a crayon, any color, and color the first clock next to the number 2. So I color that clock in, and then while I'm coloring it, I should be looking at it to try to determine what time that clock says. And I can notice that my minute hand is pointing at the 9. I know that's a 45, and it's almost to the 3, which means it's still 2. So this is 2:45. So underneath that, I'm going to nicely write in small numbers 2:45. And then I will roll my dice again. Now I got a 5. So I'm going to come down here to the 5, and I'm going to color my first clock. And that one says 11 o'clock. So I will color it in, and then underneath it, I will write 11 o'clock. Remember, which is 11:00. There's that. Then I continue to roll. Your job is to try to see which one you color in fastest. So which number do I roll the most times? So if I got a 4, I would now do the first time on 4. I'm going to skip that until I get a repeat so I can show you what happens. So far I've rolled a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, 2. There we go. So I'm going to color, I got a 2 again. I would color my second 2. And while I'm coloring it, I want to look at what time it says. The hour hand is pointing at the 10, and the minute hand is pointing at the 12, which means that it is 10 o'clock. So I need to write that, okay? So again, you want to keep rolling. Every time you roll a number, you fill in the first clock, and then the second clock, and then the third clock, and you want to see which row you fill out the fastest, okay? So that is your first game. Again, it can be played by yourself. If you crushed one page and want to go on to another, feel free. I would like firsties to start on the 3rd one if they can, and then kinders can choose first or second. Your second game, like I said, you can play with a sibling, or with mom or dad, or if mom or dad let you use the phone to call a friend and do some kind of video game, you could do it like that. So you have a hundreds chart, and then at the bottom of the hundreds chart are shapes, and you should have a square, a rectangle, an ellipse, a circle, a triangle, a trapezoid, a hexagon with 6 sides, a pentagon with 5 sides, an octagon with 8 sides, and then a rhombus. So I will color all of those differently. I want to make sure that my shapes are different so I can start to delineate between them by looking not only at the shape, but also at the color. So I'm just going to color in my shapes. You could color in the backgrounds of your squares if you wish as well, but I'm just going to give you a quick idea of what this can look like. I won't do all of them, so you don't have to sit here and watch me color, but I want you to color all of your shapes. So I've started coloring, and then you're going to need your scissors, so crayons and scissors for this game, and you're going to cut out these little squares. Now you're going to have to be careful. Cut carefully. It's not a big deal if you cut off the black, okay? But you want to cut out all of these squares, so yours should all be colored. Mine are not. I've got them. I cut them apart. So you should have 10 little squares. And then I will do my best to show you this. It's kind of tricky without moving the camera all around. But once you have all of those cut out, you're going to cover them. So at school, we actually play this game with a huge mat that we put on the floor. Firsties might remember it. And then you get to walk around and cover them, and then your friends guess them. But for this time, we will cover them on the table and have our friends guess them. So if I were done cutting all of them out, what you're going to do, children, is secretly, while the other person's not looking, start covering numbers. So this will be laying on the table like this, and maybe I put the octagon there, and I put the rhombus here. Okay, so you'll cover 10 numbers with your 10 shapes, and then the other person has to guess. So if I walked up and I was playing with my brother or sister or parent or someone, I would say underneath the rhombus, because this is a rhombus, so I need to use the name, underneath the rhombus is 21. And then that person would pull it off and say, correct. So you want to start paying attention. This should help you see patterns on your number charts. If you want to save this game, you can keep playing it. It's a good way to practice your shapes. I know that there are small pieces, so in class I would put them in a Ziploc bag just to keep. You could also paper clip them to the top, but I find those get lost more easily. So again, you color your shapes, you cut out all 10 of them nicely, and then you cover 10 different numbers on your chart and then make someone else guess, and then you can switch. And that person can cover 10 and you can guess. So this is a fun game. You can try to make it more challenging by putting numbers next to each other, such as this. And that way, it gets harder to use the patterns. So you can put them all down in nice shapes and blobs to make it a little more tricky. All right, those are your math games for today. So clocks, you can play by yourself. Shapes and numbers, you can play with someone else. And I hope that you have a lovely Friday. I love you. God bless you. See you next week. Bye.